History loves simple villains. It hates complicated truth, and nothing unsettles people more than loyalty that crosses borders. That question has echoed for more than a century, whispered in suspicion and shouted in accusation. How could the same bankers serve America and Germany? How could men with the same surnames advise governments that would one day face each other across battlefields? And why, after all this time, does the story still feel dangerous to tell? This is not a tale of secret control or shadowy betrayal. It is something far more human and far more unsettling. It is the story of Jewish banking families who lived between nations in an age when nations themselves were still being invented. Men who believed in institutions more than flags and stability more than slogans, and who found themselves trapped between rising empires, collapsing worlds, and a hatred that would eventually consume Europe. The bold claim at the heart of this story is not that Jewish bankers played both sides in some grand conspiracy. It is that modern finance was born before modern nationalism and, when nationalism turned violent, those who lived globally became easy targets for blame. These bankers did not control history. They were crushed, used, and misunderstood by it. To understand how this could happen, we must return to a time before America and Germany were enemies, before world wars hardened identities, and before the word loyalty became a weapon. In the 19th century, Europe was transforming at a brutal pace. Empires stretched across continents. Railroads stitched nations together. Industry exploded. Money moved faster than armies, and those who could manage that movement became essential. Banking was not yet national. It was familial, personal, and international by necessity. Jewish families were uniquely positioned for this world, not by privilege, but by exclusion, for centuries. Jews had been barred from owning land, joining guilds, or entering aristocratic professions. Banking was not a chosen advantage. It was one of the few doors left open. And even then, it came with danger. Expulsion, pogroms, legal restrictions, and constant suspicion followed them wherever they went. So Jewish banking families adapted. They built networks across borders because borders could turn hostile overnight. They spoke multiple languages because survival demanded it. They trusted family more than states, because states had a long history of betrayal. From this world emerged families like the Warburgs, the Rothschilds, the Seligmans, names that would later be mythologized, distorted, and weaponized. The Warburg family began in Hamburg, a city defined by trade. They were not kings. They were not generals. They were sons trained to read balance sheets the way others read scripture. Their faith taught discipline, restraint, and memory. Never forget who you are. Never forget how quickly safety can vanish. In time, the family spread. Some branches moved to London. Others, too, New York. Some remained in Germany. This was not a plot. It was a hedge against catastrophe. One branch, led by Paul Warburg, would help shape the American financial system. Another, led by Max Warburg, would advise the German government. Same family. Different continents. Different realities. At first, this was unremarkable. Before World War I, such arrangements were normal. Capital crossed borders even when politics did not. Governments needed expertise. Bankers provided it. The assumption was that rational systems could prevent irrational wars. That assumption would not survive. The turning point came in 1914. Europe collapsed into madness. Alliances hardened. Borders closed. Brothers found themselves on opposite sides of a war they did not want and could not stop. The Warburgs, like many international families, were suddenly forced into impossible positions. Paul Warburg, now an American citizen, became one of the architects of the Federal Reserve System. His belief was simple but revolutionary. Financial chaos breeds political chaos. A central bank could stabilize markets, prevent panics, protect democracy from collapse. In Germany, Max Warburg worked to keep the economy functioning under siege. He advised on war financing not out of ideology, but out of fear that economic collapse would bring revolution, starvation, and violence. Neither man was plotting against the other. Neither was betraying his country. Each believed he was preventing something worse. But history is not kind to nuance. After the war, Germany was humiliated. Its economy destroyed. Its people desperate. Anti-Semitism, already present, metastasized. Jewish bankers became convenient symbols of defeat. Accusations flew. Lies hardened into ideology. Max Warburg, despite his service, was branded suspect. His loyalty questioned. His family threatened. Meanwhile, in America, suspicion grew as well. The Federal Reserve became a target for populist anger. Paul Warburg's German birth was used against him. He was accused of foreign influence, of hidden agendas, of divided loyalty. The irony was devastating. Men who believed in stability were blamed for instability. Men who tried to prevent catastrophe were accused of causing it. As the 1930s arrived, the world darkened further. In Germany, the Nazi regime rose on a wave of rage and fantasy. Jewish bankers were no longer just suspects. They were enemies. Assets were seized. Families destroyed. Max Warburg was forced to flee. His contributions erased. His existence rewritten as a threat. There was no secret alliance with Nazi Germany. There was terror. This is where the story becomes morally urgent. The myth that Jewish bankers served both America and Germany survives because it is simple. It offers villains. It satisfies suspicion. But it collapses under scrutiny. What actually existed were individuals navigating collapsing worlds, trying to preserve order, family, and life itself in an era that punished all three. Did these bankers influence governments? Yes, they were advisors, experts, technocrats in an age that needed technocrats. Did they shape economies? Undeniably. Modern finance still carries their fingerprints. Did they control nations? No. Nations used them manned, discarded them when convenient. Public reaction rarely reflects this complexity. Fear demands narratives. Economic pain looks for faces. Anti-Semitism provided ready-made answers. The idea of the dual-loyal Jew became a weapon, one that would justify exclusion, violence, and eventually genocide. And here lies the deepest moral gray area. Banking power is real. Financial systems do influence societies. But power does not equal conspiracy. Expertise does not equal control. And survival across borders does not equal betrayal. The Jewish bankers of this era believed that rational systems could restrain human violence. They were wrong. Systems cannot stop hatred. They can only reveal it. Their decline was not just professional. It was existential. European branches were destroyed. Archives burned. Families scattered. Some rebuilt in America. Others vanished entirely. The global networks that once symbolized safety became liabilities. After World War II, the world tried to move on. New institutions rose. Old names faded. But the myths remained. Even today, echoes of these accusations surface whenever economies falter. Whenever systems feel distant, whenever people search for someone to blame, what remains is not a secret cabal, but a cautionary legacy. The modern world still relies on cross-border finance, still depends on experts who move between nations, still struggles to balance global systems with national identity, and still, when fear rises, suspicion follows the same paths. The final image is quiet. Old photographs. Faces staring back from another century. Men who believed that stability could save the world. Who learned too late that hatred does not negotiate, and the final question lingers. Heavy and unresolved when history turns violent. Does it punish those who seek power, or those who believe reason can tame it? The screen fades to black. And for a moment, the silence feels like memory itself, asking to be understood rather than feared.